Welcome to Conflicts of the Constitution. I'm your host, Mikael. It's time to wake up. I predict that 2024 is going to be the worst year that America has ever seen. Melanated people, we got to get together. We're more powerful, united. We're more powerful when we come together. We have the combined net worth of over $3 trillion. We can create our own Nike, our own Adidas, our own movie studios, our own football leagues, our own basketball league, our first all melanated hockey team. The promised land is ours, not theirs. Conflicts of the Constitution, where we break down the laws of this land and we show you how to use the laws against them. Let's get into it. Welcome to the first episode of Conflicts of the Constitution, the case for separation, not reparation. I'm your host, Mikael, and occasionally I will have guests. Let's get into it. There are 7 articles along with 27 amendments that detail the core components of how the so-called founders wanted the government to run the country. The U.S. Constitution, written in 1787 and ratified in 1788, outlines the structure of America's federal government. It also guarantees the states and the people certain rights. The Constitution is a contract between the corporation of America and the several states. Yes, America is a corporate entity, and this is why the 10 square area of D.C. will never be a state. But you have to understand that when it was first written, it only applied to the first class citizen, which were Caucasian white males who owned property. Property meaning land or slaves. In the 1700s, there were slaves and indentured servants. The indentured servants were mostly of European descent and called Slavic. And they came from the region which is modern day Russia. This could be where the hatred between the U.S. and Russia emanates. The word slave comes from the word Slavic, who are people, as we said earlier, from Eastern European descent. But this has never been taught in the American school system. But why? I submit to you that the Caucasian men who wrote history, which I like to call his story, never wanted to empower the so-called black people by any means. Did you know that the early Caucasians came out of the Caucasus Mountains above Russia? Did you know that during the transatlantic slave trade, there were an estimated 22,000 ships, which were technically cargo ships, but they have only found a total of 3. Once again, his story. Did you know that there were European travelers in the Americas 500 years before Columbus, and that they found Moors from Spain here, along with Aboriginal tribes here? I submit to you that all the slaves in America did not come from Africa. I submit to you that this narrative has to be pushed, propagated for only one reason: to trick you. In this program, you will learn the 3 branches of government: terms of the president, senators, and representatives, why all bills are for raising revenue, you will learn about America's debt-based economy and America's current and past bankruptcies. You will learn what fiat currency is. You will learn about Executive Order 14067, which Joe Biden signed. And this is designed to track your every move with a fiat digital currency, the same way China does to its citizens. You will learn the difference between a democracy, a republic, and a despotism. You will learn about the UN Declaration of Human Rights. You will learn why European brands are detrimental to the Black salvation. Why Black is not a nation. You will learn about the 3/5 clause and how we can become a nation. You will learn why this land does not belong to the Caucasian, the Proud Boys, the KKK, or any other white supremacy group. You will learn the proof that every so-called Black is entitled to this very land that they built. You will learn how all alphabet agencies, along with the Federal Reserves, are owned by Zionists and are private corporations. So let's get into the Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now let's go into a little etymology here, which is the study of words. It says ourselves and our posterity. Posterity is our future generations. It says the Constitution for the United States of America. Of is in relation to. I am a friend of such and such. He is a friend of such and such. So understand that this is a contract. And once we go deep into this Constitution, you'll understand that it was mostly written for the sake of commerce. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. They want to make sure that they would balance the power and the decision making. Section 2. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year and by the people of the several states. And the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. Now, there's a big misconception that the people choose the president. But I submit to you, it's not true. Every state has electors. California has a certain amount. It's based on the population of the state. Nevada, Arizona has a different amount of electors. And every 4 years, they meet in D.C. to vote on the president. If you look up the Bilderberg Group, this decision is made far before the president is even elected. And if you remember back to 2016, Trump received less popular votes, but he won the Electoral College. So this is all written in the Constitution. So I submit to you that when they say we the people, they're talking about the 1%. Let's move on to Article 1, Section 2. No person shall be a representative who shall have not attained the age of 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. Case in point, Hillary Clinton. She was from Arkansas and ran in New York State. And again, you'll find in the entire Constitution, it only talks about men and not women. Let's move on. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for terms of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. Now let's talk about this for a sec. As we said earlier, the indentured servants were bound to a service for a term of years. So that meant that they had a date, right? They had a date to get out. But blacks who were considered 3/5 human, they never had a date. They were in bondage perpetually. Now, when we go further into this, we'll get into the 13th Amendment, which freed the slaves, and it really didn't free the slaves. But this 3/5 of all other persons, this 3/5 human is very interesting, which was written by James Madison, came up with this 3/5 human clause. The 3/5 human clause is never addressed in the 13th or 14th Amendment. So I submit that if you're 3/5 human, right here, it says that you're exempt from taxes, just like the Indians are. Let's move on. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such matter as they shall be directed by law. The number of representatives shall not exceed 1 for every 30,000, but each state shall have at least 1 representative. And until such enumeration shall be made, the state of New Hampshire shall be entitled to choose 3, Massachusetts 8, Rhode Island and Providence Plantation 1, Connecticut 5, New York 6, New Jersey 4, Pennsylvania 8, Delaware 1, Maryland 6, Virginia 10, North Carolina 5, South Carolina 5, and Georgia 3. Now, these made up the 13 colonies before this Constitution was written. Now, 13 is a very interesting number. You'll find it on the dollar bill in several of the signs. 13 is a Masonic order, and I'm not going to get into any Masonry, but you should really, if you want to understand what this country, what the justice system is, you'll learn that they're Masons, and they have an order. Let's continue. When vacancies happen in the representation from any state, the executive authority thereof shall issue writs of election to fill those vacancies. The House of Representatives shall choose their speaker and other officers and shall have the sole power of impeachment. Now, if you read through this, the language at the time, the spelling, they spelled choose, C-H-U-S-E. These people weren't really as sharp as you think. The first settlers here did not read or write. If you look up the Geneva Bible, I suggest that everyone listening should look up the Geneva Bible, which was a Bible that came with Christopher Columbus here. And it's the spelling, it is in English, but it's hard to get through because, again, the people who wrote it weren't that smart. Let's move on to section 3. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. Now, this is, everybody talks about this, Republicans, Democrats, how these senators should really have less years in office. I mean, they should have term limits, and I strongly agree. But I agree more that we should have our own nation. And once we get into the Bill of Rights, you'll find out how the people can make that happen. Let's move on. Immediately after, they shall be assembled in consequence of the first election. They shall be divided as equally as may be into 3 classes. The seats of the senators of the first class shall be vacated at the expiration of the 2nd year, of the second class at the expiration of the 4th year, and of the third class at the expiration of the 6th year, so that 1/3 may be chosen every 2nd year. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained the age of 30 years. And there's been times in history where the senator wasn't quite 30, but they let him pass anyway. Because, again, the people don't understand or know the Constitution. Let's continue. And been 9 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state for which he shall be chosen. The vice president of the United States shall be the president of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be equally divided. The Senate shall choose their other officers, and also a president per tempore, in the absence of the vice president, or when he shall exercise the office of President of the United States. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath of affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to remove from office and disqualifications to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. So we know about the debacle and impeachment of Donald Trump. If you look at history, the impeachment of Nixon, who was caught red-handed, breaking the law. This Constitution is not followed, obviously, because, again, the people are unaware, and that is the purpose for this class and information, to make us aware. The Constitution is the law of the land. And to move in their system, their matrix, you have to understand it. And with understanding comes power. So we're going to leave it here, and we'll see you next week for Conflicts of the Constitution, the case for separation, not reparations.